Serving your country don't just limit you to, you know, enlisting into the military, right? Serving your country, teachers serve their country when they teach the students. The teachers serve their country by teaching the students and preparing them to be, what's the word I'm looking for? They're preparing them to be upstanding citizens, knowledgeable people, people who use critical thinking. So teachers are heroes, right? Um, hmm. Although police officers and sheriffs, they're catching a bad rap right now because, of the miseducation and, the racist people that's in there, right? But the job title is protecting your country on a local level, right? Um, Arresting the bad guys, getting the pedophiles off the streets, right? Police officers can be heroes to their country as well, locally. Board council members are serving their country locally. So I don't want people to think that you have to enlist in the military and pick up a gun to be serving your country. There's many different ways you can serve your country. People who build homes, people who build buildings, people who's in the construction field are also serving their country. So the moment we change the way we look at things and perceive things and look at things from a positive aspect as far as serving your country, many people will be up to the challenge, not just changing their country, but preparing the youth for a better future too, right? But that being said, shout out to Sergeant Joe Harris, believed to be the oldest surviving World War II paratrooper and a member of the U.S. Army's 1st All-Black Parachute Infantry Battalion, has died, and he was 108 years old, right? But I don't like the games. I don't like the games that they used against black people in America, right? Or should I say in the Americas, Canada, United States, Mexico, Jamaica, right? And all the other surrounding Americas, right? I don't like the games that's being played. Peep this, right? Sergeant Joe Harris was a member of the U.S. Army's 1st All-Black Parachute Infantry. What about the U.S. Army's 1st Parachute Infantry? Not the 1st All-Black. This is the problem. They separate. So you could be a part of something, but then they have you separated from what you're supposed to be a part of. It's no different than the Civil Rights Act of 1968. There's already a civil rights, right? It's supposed to be the 14th Amendment, and that was supposed to be for the Negro slaves, right? And we're going to get into that in another video. But what about the U.S. Army's 1st Parachute Infantry? So they separate you from being a part of the U.S. Army's 1st Parachute Infantry, and they put you in something called the U.S. Army's 1st All-Black Parachute Infantry. So already, Sergeant Joe Harris' family, what their family has did for the country, because, for example, Sergeant Joe Harris could have already had relatives a part of the U.S. Army's servicing in the U.S. Army's, military, right? But they probably wasn't called black. I want you to think about that. They're calling Sergeant Joe Harris, or they're telling his story to be a part of an all-black parachute infantry, instead of saying he's a part of the U.S. Army's parachute infantry. So there's already two. You have the all-black parachute infantry, and then you have the U.S. Army's parachute infantry. You see the wordplay? So, like I said, Sergeant Joe Harris, he could have had family members that was American Indian, that was a part of the original Army's parachute infantry, but because they called him black, And because we're playing this black and white game, this racial game, right? Because it's all bullshit. The racial game is bullshit. But by us playing this racial game, it erases what his ancestors had already done here in this country. Think about that. But then Sergeant Harris' story goes on. It says, Harris died March 15th in a hospital in Los Angeles, surrounded by family, which is a beautiful thing. Shout out to Mr. Harris or Sergeant Harris' family for supporting him. You know, his family surrounded him. This is old roots right here. This ain't modern day shit where, you know, family turn on each other, you know, motherfuckers trying to rob you, kill you, all that. Mr. Harris had unbelievably great family members who surrounded him. His grandson, Ashton Pittman, shout out to him, told the Associated Press he will be honored with a full military funeral on April 5th. It goes on to say he was a very loving man, said Pittman, his grandson, speaking up for him. That was one of the things that he was very strict upon, was loving one another. That's old school right there. The love, you know what I'm saying? The natural love of a relative, or the natural love, like how we treat each other in our families, and then we go out into the world, we treat the world that way too. But in today's times, you got kids killing kids because kids are not being taught what love is. Kids are being tricked off the streets and losing their life early from killing another kid. So when they go to jail, like, they lose their freedom, right? And they don't understand how important and how precious their freedom is to them. I need you to, like, let that sit in. How does a fucking kid that's 10 years old end up offing another kid, and he don't understand that the crime I'm about to do could cost me to lose my life as well? That's deep. That's deep. But Mr. Harris, or Sergeant Harris, story goes on. It says Harris was among the last surviving members of the historic 555th Parachute Infantry Battalion, nicknamed the Triple Nickels. The battalion helped protect the U.S. from deadly Japanese balloon bombs. Once again, the battalion helped protect the U.S. from deadly Japanese balloon bombs. So you're included in the military, but at the same time, you're not included in the military. You help protect this shit from being bombed by the Japanese, just for them to say, put you in your own category, away or secluded from the U.S. Army, right? But let's go on to continue reading this. It says, according to Robert L. Bartlett, a retired Eastern Washington University professor who specializes in the 555th, in 1944 and 1945, the Japanese launched thousands of balloons to be carried by the Pacific jet stream to the U.S. mainland to explode and start fires. During World War II, Black Americans were often relegated to more support level jobs in a racially segregated military, and President Franklin Roosevelt faced pressure to put them in combat units. So instead of putting our people, or Black Americans, into the U.S. Army's combat units, they created like separatism within the military. And we have this issue today in the military. For those who serve, they try to put you in your own category instead of making you feel like you're a part of the United States. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like you're here. It's like being a citizen, but then you're not a citizen, right? It's like being a part of the United States. You're protecting this motherfucker. You built this motherfucker just for somebody to come in and try to take it from you, take the shield from you, right? That's like Captain America taking the shield. This was already established, but Captain America is now the face. You know, Mr. Rogers, that Captain America, the white Captain America, he's now the face after all the shit that you didn't put in, after all the work you didn't put into building this country, just for you to be called the Falcon, right? Just for you to be the support, you to support your family, your ancestors built this shit, but now they just make you look like you to support. They Batman, you Robin, right? It goes on to say, where we at? We're right here. Throughout their time in the military, they faced overt racism. We just talked about that. Throughout their time in the military, they faced overt racism, including being barred from going to the base commissary and officers' clubs unless they were specifically for Black people. I just said that. You could be a part of something just like the Civil Rights Act of 1968. So when they created that, they said, hey, this is for Negroes, but on the back end, right? On the back, always think about the back end. On the back end, right? Foreigners was coming over here and was getting the citizenship through the 14th Amendment, which is also called civil rights. So MLK and all them fraudulent niggas, right? They was marching and pushing niggas to accept the Civil Rights Act of 1968, which separated you from the United States. And that means the foreigners that was coming over here was entitled to the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment Civil Rights Act wasn't for Black Americans, because Black Americans were the American Indians. If that makes sense. If it don't make sense, revisit old videos of what I had, and then I'll talk about it in future videos too. But it's the trickery. It's the double entendres. It's the double talking, right? Serve them, and then they gonna serve you. But the way they serving you, it ain't beneficial. Let me just say that. It ain't beneficial, right? This unit had to fight to be recognized as human beings while training to fight an enemy overseas. Think about it. This unit, because they talking about the all-Black infantry, right? This unit had to fight to be recognized as human beings. So once again, when I told y'all, when y'all playing a racial game, this whole black and white shit, it's all a trick to take away what your ancestors done already. So this unit had to fight to be recognized as human beings. Why? Because they took on the identity of being Black. But let's continue on. It says, while training to fight an enemy overseas, you fighting the enemy here who infiltrated, because like I said, there's good people and bad people in the world, right? There's good and bad people in the world. That is true. If you believe in a God, I don't care what you call him. If you believe in a God, a higher power, a positivity, then you have to acknowledge the negativity, right? So, our people fighting to be recognized as human beings while fighting an enemy overseas. We're fighting an enemy here, we're fighting an enemy overseas, right? But it's also taking away what your ancestors had already done here. They're stealing from you. The story then goes on to say, fight in their own country for respect, even within the military. We just talked about that. That was not lost on Pittman, who said his grandfather was brave enough to serve the U.S. during a time when the country didn't love him, honestly didn't care about him. And that's true. But the country didn't love your grandfather or appreciate him because they were stealing from your grandfather. They were stealing from your ancestors. And that's just what it is. And if more of us have this knowledge and information and expose it, we can heal our people. Because you're healing them with telling them the truth versus lying to them, versus propaganda, versus conspiracies. Tell your people the truth. Serve your family. Be a servant to your family. Be a servant to your community. Be a servant to your country. Tell your country the truth, what it really is, right? Harris was born on June 19, 1916. in Westdale, Louisiana. According to Tracy Hunter, spokesperson for World War II Beyond the Call, a nonprofit organization that works to document veterans' accounts. After filling out his draft registration card, he began his military service in 1941 when he was 24. Like I said, shout out to all y'all who have family who were in the military, who had to endure the racism, the mistreatment. You are the real superheroes. You the super soldiers. To be honest with you, you are the real super soldiers. Because you fighting, not only are you fighting for your country, but you fighting against the negative aspect of your own country. And you fighting enemies abroad. This is crazy. Right? This is crazy. At the time he was honorably discharged in November 1945, he had completed 72 parachute jumps, according to Hunter. After the war, he worked for the U.S. Border Patrol. He also spent more than 60 years in Compton, California. Shout out to Compton. Shout out to the coast. I love all the United States, East, West, South, and North. But, shout out to the coast. Shout out to Compton. Shout out to South Central. Shout out to, yeah. Where Pittman said he was the neighborhood patriarch. I believe that. The neighborhood patriarch is when you have these skills to think, strategize, plan, and fight, you serve your community. You're going to be a natural leader. This is all I've been trying to tell people for years in this Aboriginal, American Indian, this whatever you want to call this shit. I'm going to just say American Indian shit because, when you get this information, when you have this information, you're going to serve your community and your country. You're going to be a natural born leader, and you don't have a problem serving. So if you don't have a problem serving for your country, your community, your state, right, and you're doing it the right way, you don't mind laying your life on the line, because you're putting your life on the line for something that matters, right? Something that matters. Morals over money. We're going to get the money. We're going to use it as a tool, right? Morals over money. Say it. Morals over money. Morals over money. Right now, people are worshiping money. They're not valuing morals. They're not appreciating having morals. They want the money, but they selling their soul for the money. And this is what we have today, right? But yeah, to reread this where it says, we're going to reread this because this is dope. This is dope as fuck to me. After the war, he worked for the U.S. Border Patrol. He also spent more than 60 years in Compton, California, where Pittman said he was the neighborhood patriarch, a man everyone on the block knew and gravitated to. His life is to be celebrated, and I agree. Obviously, people are going to mourn because he's not here anymore, which is understandable. People mourn. But ultimately, what I know from conversations that I've had with my grandfather is that he wants to be celebrated. He deserves to be celebrated. And he should be celebrated. He should be celebrated, right? He laid his life down on the line even after the military, which I told y'all, right? You don't have to put on fatigues to serve your country. You could create businesses and bring your people jobs. That's serving your country. That's serving your people too. Creating businesses, not scamming people, not creating shit to get a quick dollar, scam people. This ain't that. The story goes on to say he is survived by his son, Pirate Joe Harris Sr., right? And two daughters, Michonne Harris. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And I apologize if I pronounced it wrong. Michonne Harris and Latanya Pittman, along with 5 grandchildren, according to Hunter. His wife, Lewis Harris, died in 1981, and a 6th grandchild has also died. But I'm gonna stop it right there. Shout out to the family. Shout out to the Harris family. Shout out to the Pittman family. I appreciate, and I'm quite sure many others appreciate, y'all grandfather. I know y'all loved him dearly, and he did his thing. He did what he was supposed to do, serve his country. We all supposed to do it. We all supposed to spread this love around. But anyways, on to the next video. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'm out.